Hi, thanks for taking the time to view this. Um, it's meant to demo the geoCallout tool that will hopefully make um, posting of analytical data um, a less labor intensive task. Um, so I wanted to kind of briefly go over some previous formats for data post or Kimbox maps that I know that I've made in the past. You can see that we've used various color schemes in the past for different maps with many different styles, different field values. Um, and I'll just go through a few more of these. We've had this text box type style before. We've had basic, no frills. We've had them where they're really busy, where there's just a ton of data post boxes or data posts to put up. And I've also received stuff like this where it's actually been handwritten on here. And the point really to make with these is that there's a there may be a better way to really do this, and I want to kind of go over this now. So the workflow that I'm envisioning with this geoCallout tool sort of builds on the fact that we are using or relying more and more on the locus EAMS system to supply our analytical data that will be used to make the maps. This is how every one of our sites are going to be structured. So I'm just going to go through a few slides here to demonstrate what the workflow could look like. Inside of the Locus EIM system, you'll go through, you'll make some selections by location group. You'll select your medium here. You could select all of them. You go through, you select the group of available candidates. And again, this is something that a project manager or a project team person would do inside of the EIM system. And they go through here. They would know to include eastings and northings. That's how we geo-enable this data. They would pump it out directly to an Excel file. They would save the Excel file, and then that could be provided to the GIS. Okay, so here's a site, and I'm just going to briefly go through an example that that just something that may work, just to illustrate how this tool works. So I took the data out of the Locus EIM environment, and I made just a shape file out of it, a series of little dots on the map, and you can see that it's got a bunch of stuff in here. This is essentially the spatial representation of what we got out of the EIM system. And just to sort of make this easier, I'm just going to turn off these other things. So here's our dots. So the tool could work like this, where we go and we select a layer. Yes, this is the layer that I want. And I'm going to click next. And for this, I'm going to pull this out a little bit more so we can see. So the summary field is basically the thing at the top. This is going to be my location ID, and I want the parameters. It's going to take and populate those, and for this particular query that I did out of Locus, it's these three metals. Okay, so we can go here, and these are sort of the output fields. What do I want in the text boxes? Well, date sampled sounds like a good one, and report result, yeah, that sounds good. We'll add that. And let's see, is there anything else that I want to put here? I could put a lot of other things here if they were in our data. I'm going to keep it simple and go with this. I'm also going to point out that we can do things like add some filters here. And I'm not going to do that for this example, but suffice it to say that we could restrict values based on some query string right here. So I'll cancel this. Um, but what if I say that I do want to make some sort of color option. So if I say, okay, I know that for results greater than let's see, let's pick like 2000 for aluminum. I want to highlight that. I want to make that like this ugly pink color. And okay, so I'm going to add that, and that we now have a special flag that tells us something for aluminum. And we could add others, but we're just going to do it for aluminum here. We're going to click OK, and then I'm going to go to, and there's a lot of other custom things that we could do. We could filter, we could set conditions for color coding the cells. And okay, so I'm going to go to next, and I'm going to go through here, and I know that I've looked at all this before. We could set text size for the and color for the main header, control header. We can basically control all the look and feel of all the items in here. And so I'm happy with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this, and it's going to take just a second to do this. Okay, so it's processing about 1,500 records in the data table, and it did this in under a minute. It's gone through and it placed all of these text boxes in here with the leader lines, and you know that right there was probably something along the order of oh I don't know, to make all these text boxes, just to make them, to format them like somebody wanted, and to literally copy and paste them into the map. I would say that's easily a day's work. And then you probably got somebody that has to go through and proofread this stuff to make sure there wasn't a typo or something like that. We don't really need to do that here because we know that it came directly out of our table. It's an automated thing. So the fact that this tool can do that may be something to take note of. The other thing, just to sort of point out here, is that we can that you're not going to take the labor-intensive component out of resizing and moving these labels around. That's just simply there's just no way around that if we're going to include this much data on a map. So I mean, you can see right away that if we get too ambitious with the amount of data that we want to put on a map, I mean, it becomes apparent very quickly that that's just not going to work. I mean, we've got hundreds of boxes here. This is clearly not going to work for this particular map. Well, that's no big deal because we can quickly rerun this tool. So you can see right now I've got sample dates from 2007, 2002, 1992. Maybe what I want to do is one of the things that I want to do is restrict this, and maybe for dates sampled I'm really only interested in dates that are greater than or equal to I don't know, let's uh, 2007. Okay, well that's fine. And then we'll go to next, and let's go ahead and run that. And it'll take a minute to run. Okay, so I've restricted by date these our callout boxes here. So now we're left with everything that's a date greater than or equal to 2002. So you can see that we can quickly reproduce these text boxes. And that's a big deal. They're dynamic, size them as big or small as we want. And then from this, once you have them all positioned, you can then export this thing out as a PDF map. Again, you're not going to be able to remove the fact that of the labor associated with moving boxes around the map and sizing them and playing with leader lines. But I think maybe just eliminating doing this, creating this many boxes for any given project, um, via any type of manual method is worth at least thinking about. Okay, so here's just one more site, and I'll just go through another real brief example here. We're going to do this for, let's see, we load the data in here because that doesn't look like it's here. Okay, sorry about that. Here it is. So we've got, a few different areas for this site, and we want to, these are site P samples. So we've got the data frame, we click the layer, the point which we want to base these things on, and summary field, again, we want it to be location ID, we want the parameter, and it's going to go ahead and it populates this for 3 parameters. Again, this stuff just came out of Vista. We'll hit next. Output fields, we're going to do a report result. We'll add that, and I don't know, just to sample type, we'll add that, and maybe somebody wants to add other things in here. And so we'll go ahead and click next, and let's go ahead and run this, and hopefully it doesn't blow up. Let's see how long this takes. One of the things to point out is that it's processing a lot of samples. Let's just take a look and see how many records are in here. That was 100 records in a table, and it took just a few seconds, so not a big deal. We can go through here. The flickering that you're seeing is because it has to redraw each one of those boxes every time. And you can see the leader line goes along with the box. So then the boxes are made. The data comes straight from Invista. It's geo-enabled because inside of Invista we have the coordinates, so everything's there. Then the task becomes simply really making the map, and less so about formatting all of these text boxes inside of an Excel environment via copy-paste methods.